Here they are, whores and assholes, some of my favorite quotes from Arthur Schopenhauer. These are all from his Essays and Aphorisms book. Number 1. If the immediate and direct purpose of life is not suffering, then our existence is the most ill adapted to its purpose in the world, for it is absurd to suppose that the endless affliction of which the world is everywhere full, and which arises out of the need and distress pertaining essentially to life, should be purposeless and purely accidental. Misfortune in general is the rule. Number 2. For evil is precisely that which is positive, that which makes itself palpable and good. On the other hand, that is all happiness and gratification, is that which is negative, the mere abolition of a desire and extinction of pain. As a rule, we find pleasure much less pleasurable, pain much more painful than we expected. Number 3. The most effective consolation in every misfortune and every affliction is to observe who are more unfortunate than we, and everyone can do this. But what does that say for the condition as a whole? History shows us the life of nations and finds nothing to narrate but wars and tumults. The life of the individual is a constant struggle, and not merely a metaphorical one against want or boredom, but also an actual struggle against other people. He discovers adversaries everywhere, lives in continual conflict and dies with sword in hand. Number 4, not the least of the torments which plague our existence is the constant pressure of time, which never lets us so much as draw breath, but pursues us all like a taskmaster with a whip. It ceases to persecute only him it has delivered over to boredom. Number 5, and yet, just as our body would burst asunder if the pressure of the atmosphere were removed from it, so would the arrogance of men expand, if not to the point of bursting then to that of the most unbridled folly, indeed madness, if the pressure of want, toil, calamity and frustration were removed from their life. One can even say that we require at all times a certain quantity of care or sorrow or want, as a ship requires ballast, in order to keep on a straight course. Work, worry, toil and trouble are indeed the lot of almost all men their whole life long. Imagine this race transported to a utopia, where everything grows of its own accord and turkeys fly around ready roasted, where lovers find one another without any difficulty. In such a place men would die of boredom or hang themselves, some would fight and kill one another, and thus they would create for themselves more suffering than nature inflicts on them as it is. Thus for a race such as this no stage, no form of existence is suitable other than the one it already possesses. Number 6. Man has, consequently, no larger share of real physical pleasure than the animals have, except perhaps to the extent that his more highly charged nervous system intensifies every sensation of pleasure, as it also does every sensation of pain. Number 7. He deliberately intensifies his needs, which are originally scarcely harder to satisfy than those of the animal, so as to intensify his pleasure, hence luxury, confectionery, tobacco, opium, alcoholic drinks, finery and all that pertains to them. To these is then added, also as a result of reflection, a source of pleasure, and consequently of suffering available to him alone, and one which preoccupies him beyond all measure, indeed more than all the rest put together, ambition and the sense of honor and shame, in plain words, what he thinks others think of him. Number 8, want and boredom are indeed the twin poles of human life. Thanks kiddies, this is the end of part 1, part 2 to come soon. Don't forget to contract AIDS and eat shit.